Nintendo's announcement of Octopath Traveler in one of their directs had my attention immediately. A brand new 2D art style featuring sprites reminiscent of SNES classics, 8 characters with individual stories, intriguing game mechanics, and all from Square Enix, complete with the silliest possible title. I mean, Project Octopath Traveler, that's exactly the kind of nonsensical Japanism I've come to love. It's even better than Bravely Default. I'm personally glad they kept this working title, even though it might have turned potential players away. If you weren't paying attention back then, everyone on the internet was laughing at the name, but at the same time, I remember a lot of hype. Before I go on, consider leaving a like and subscribing. It really helps the channel reach more RPG fans, and I upload weekly tasty content. Hot tub stream at 100k. Okay, like the title implies, I'm here to gush on Octopath, but I'll start with the biggest complaint I've heard: the story. If you only play RPGs for the story and want a grand, overarching tale where all the characters help each other and develop and work toward taking down a big bad, you might be disappointed with Octopath. On the other hand, what it's got is pretty good. Look, some people hold certain JRPG stories to an imaginary, lofty standard that I haven't seen in any game. Stories in even the best of the genre range from fine to good for the most part. And that's true with Octopath as well. Its 8 characters get their own multi-chapter stories that are fine to good. The characters don't interact much with each other aside from a few optional conversations, but the real meat of Octopath is in its gameplay, and that's what makes it a must-play. Octopath mashes up the best parts of Saga, Final Fantasy, and Bravely Default, which you'd think would be a no-brainer coming from Square, and you'd be right. I don't know if they got fresh talent on this game or if we're seeing long-timers finally mastering their craft, but it's like they threw in every good idea they had, and even better, meshed it all together effectively. Still my favorite combat yet in a JRPG, Octopath includes turn-based battles, unique character abilities, a class system complete with secondary jobs, a 1 per turn boost point system called BP, consequential equipment customization that offers real choice, distinct and clever spells and skills, and an extensive amount of useful items in battle. That's what makes Octopath great, the amount of choice it gives you. Not in the story or personal character development like in Western RPGs, but in style, class, or role in your battle party. Each party member suits their default job, which can't be changed, but the game rewards experimentation via its job point system. Job points are rewarded after battle much like experience and let characters purchase skills from whatever secondary jobs they train in to then be used at any time. And everyone can excel under radically different secondary jobs by applying the right strategy. Reminiscent of Bravely Default, characters gain 1 BP per turn, which they can either save or spend to power up their skills. There's all kinds of ways to abuse this system, including jobs that can transfer to or take BP from other party members, and skills with drastically better effects when boosted. Turn order matters too, and like most of the mechanics, it feels impactful. It matters a lot, which is far too uncommon in JRPGs. As far as I can tell, there's some randomness involved, but overall, if you've got a speedy character, especially one boosted by their equipment, they'll get tons of turns in battle. And fights abound in Octopath Traveler. Fields are packed with random encounters, which I enjoy, but could be another deal breaker for some, and there's a lot of running around in general. Aside from towns, you get to explore a large, side-scrolling overworld littered with dungeons. Good thing the combat is so fun, and you do get a way to lower the encounter rate later on. Outside of battles, characters can use unique path actions to interact with the world in an active way. Tressa the Merchant, for example, is able to buy items from NPCs' inventories while the thief can steal from them. Alfin the Apothecary might get additional info out of townsfolk, while Haunted could provoke them into a fight. A few of these, like stealing, prove much more useful than others, but all come in handy during story beats or optional side quests, of which there are loads. Heck, you could spend hours running around using everyone's path actions on every NPC, which I did. I had a blast. This kind of thorough exploration filled with trivial but occasionally super useful stuff to do helps me get more absorbed into an RPG. Some of the path actions even provide benefits in battle. Cyrus's Scrutinize in particular identifies enemy weaknesses, which make up yet another important mechanic. See, enemies won't take much damage until you break their shields by attacking with an element or weapon they're weak to, often more than once. Each new enemy type has its own set of weaknesses which the game hides. Scrutinize aside, the typical way to reveal them is by attacking with all kinds of weapon and spell types until you hit one, then using process of elimination when you can to guess the others, since they're always in the same order, weapons first and then magic. For me, this is addictive fun, like filling out a Pokedex. You kinda develop that muscle memory where, upon seeing an enemy at the start of battle, you know exactly how to respond without the need to glance at their weaknesses anymore. That's not to mention how insanely cool bosses are, grotesque beasts that tower over your party and often put up a fight to match their intimidating looks. They make heavy use of the break mechanic themselves, requiring several break-in attacks before their shield goes down for you to dish out massive damage. And that's the name of the game in truth. None of the random encounters are tough, the bosses are where it's at. Working out a plan that accounts for the amount of time needed to break a boss and take advantage of the damage window, all while healing from massive, powerful attacks, is rewarding as hell. There's nothing crazy tough until the endgame, but the beautiful hand-drawn sprites make up for that. I wish we got more of this kind of retro throwback which manages to evoke the wonder of those old SNES classics, while also taking a step into new territory with its so-called HD 2D heavy focus style. The rich, pixelated backdrops and scrolling landscapes went a long way toward keeping me immersed in the world. Strangely, most scenes are lit rather dark, and there's a large amount of dimming around the corners of the screen. I could never get used to these style choices. They haven't won me over, but even they help draw me in a weird way. Octopath is jaw-dropping, and what I love most about its looks is that no one would mistake it for a SNES game. This is a modern twist on that style, and I want more, dang it. I don't have much to say about the stories other than, again, they're decent, and you do get to know each character well enough to care about them. It feels like I was there with them on their journeys, which even inspired the secondary jobs I chose. Once you unlock the secondary jobs, oh boy, your options open wide up, yet you're only beginning to scrape at the full potential of the combat system. Secondary jobs are straight up just that, a second job for characters, which, unlike their starting job, can be changed at any time. That's a big deal, especially after unlocking advanced jobs to shatter the game into pieces. The War Master can use every item type and deal massive damage. Starseer is the ultimate offer. Sorcerer's the most powerful mage class, and Rune Lord makes for a fascinating support unit who can transfer the effects of skills to other party members. The Merchant gets an incredible skill called Sidestep, which causes the target to auto-dodge the next physical attack. Against bosses who deal obscene amounts of damage, this is a literal lifesaver, and the Rune Lord can copy its effect to an ally, making Tressa a natural fit as a dodge-stacking Merchant/Rune Lord. But there's even better Tressa setups out there, as well as a mind-boggling number of ways to combine jobs for new interactions across your party late game. Alphen, our versatile would-be apothecary, has heaps of creative options at his fingertips. Hell, he can practically solo the game as a low HP Danger War Master, using the Fortitude skill to increase damage. But you don't have to overthink it. You could always spread coverage for every weapon and skill type across a few tanky units, leaving other characters to focus on buffs, debuffs, and healing, or you could figure out a boss's weaknesses and design a foolproof way to nuke them. That's all but necessary for the final postgame dungeon, which requires 2 full parties of 4, with everyone at a high level. Didn't focus on training every character during the main story? Too bad. Usually I'd balk at that, like in my various day life review, but I didn't have the same problem in Octopath since I loved trying out all the characters and ended up over-leveled for that last dungeon, which is really a boss gauntlet. Even so, I died a few times on a couple bosses and had to come up with a whole new game plan including different equipment. I love how much of a difference that makes. My strat only worked because I planned it out specifically, allowing sacrifices in certain stats, which is satisfying in a saga-esque way. While only some of the bosses are truly tough, the random encounters always require brainpower since enemies have a large and ever-changing variety of weaknesses from the get-go, forcing you to constantly adjust your weapons and skills. Personally, I adore that kind of stuff in my JRPGs. If you're all about tweaking your get-up in menus, Octopath is the game for you. Besides that, Octopath's got amazing quality of life features, like a mini-map with helpful icons for navigation through the dense overworld, or being able to warp to any town on the map from anywhere, even inside dungeons. Or how the boost system makes backtracking a breeze, fun even. You get to unleash your most powerful attacks on trash encounters just to ooh and ah at the sparkly effects without worrying much about resources. You'll want to. Watch how that sorcerer blasts beasties into oblivion. Animations are quick and snappy, the sprite work clean and blended well against the bevy of 3D models and backgrounds. Despite the 2D-3D mix, everything looks like it belongs together in what's truly a modern expression of what we remember SNES games looking like, if you know what I mean. The music ain't bad at all either. Off the top of my head, even years after playing the game, I remember the title theme and the Sunshade theme as highlights. The latter sounds so simple listening to it now, but it makes its mark in-game set against the scorching sands of an eerie desert village filled with shady characters. The rest of the soundtrack thrills and delights with rumbling orchestral pieces, major props to composer Yasunori Nishiki, who was a relative unknown freelancer at the time, and major props to Square for hiring him. They must be as pleased as me since Nishiki got to work on Final Fantasy VII Remake and also composed Octopath 2. I don't say this often, but this is a soundtrack worth listening to even if you don't plan to play the game. Though I'd still recommend Octopath to damn near everyone who's into great JRPG battle mechanics. Don't skip it for the upcoming sequel, play both. I'm hyped as hell for Octopath 2, it's a day one buy on Switch from me. Gotta support the OG platform, since Nintendo clearly saw more value in Octopath than their competitors did, which I appreciate. Anyway, thanks for watching. Leave a like for that algorithm, let me know your thoughts on Octopath Traveler in the comments, subscribe for videos on all kinds of RPGs, and have a blessed day.